Welcome to the Sharon Fitzmaurice podcast, where we celebrate the resilience of the human spirit. We are proudly partnered with IntoTheWestAdventures.com, where they have places available for their 2nd to the 7th of July Celtic Camino at Corunna to Santiago for their guided walking tour. Please check out details on IntoTheWestAdventures.com. And now we welcome our next guest. So my guest today is Gina Dermody, and Gina is the director of Adolescents, a beyond psychotherapy clinic that specialises in supporting adolescents and families. So there's 3 therapists who provide therapy to adolescents, parents, adults and couples. And the clinic is located in Tuam, County Galway, a beautiful space which serves the local community, surrounding schools, the greater Connacht region, and offers online services to clients in other areas. Gina, you are very welcome.
Lovely to be with you, Sharon.
Delighted to have you. So I have the privilege of knowing Gina personally, so I can completely vouch for her services, her amazing personality, and her vitality for life in all she does in her work and in her personal life. So Gina, there's been a lot going on in the media and I suppose in everywhere, social media for the last number of years, but particularly in the last few weeks, especially with the new drama series that was on television, Adolescents. And we're going to talk about that. But the first thing I would like to talk about is because it's a thing that we're hearing more about, and sometimes parents are unsure of it, and children are using the term anxiety, and maybe they're not quite sure even what that means. So, my understanding of anxiety, having suffered from it myself years ago, was anticipating future events, the dread of something happening outside of there, not right now. Whereas fear would be, I suppose, an emotional response to something that's happening presently. So I wonder if you, in your beautiful professional and personal experience, could explain to people a little bit more about anxiety.
Isn't it interesting, at different times in our history and in the world, we get very attached to a certain word or to a certain phrase. And I think what has happened with anxiety is that, it has somewhat been pathologized in some instances, and then in other instances, professionals and peoples have sought to understand it a bit more and explain it, which is a good thing. And in our explaining and in our understanding of it, sometimes we think, oh, I have that. And then it becomes my anxiety. And then it becomes, oh, well, I think that could be dangerous. And I think it's a disease or it's a disorder. And I don't think professionals, in my experience, set out to put that kind of fear in people. Rather, it's to understand where is it showing up. So if we think of that term social anxiety, where is it showing up? Yeah, I struggle to talk to you today, Sharon, or I struggle to be in a group. So it's to help people understand where is it showing up, and then to help people understand, well, what would you like to do about it? So what happens then, on social media, everywhere else, is we get gripped by my anxiety and this disorder and this condition that has no cure, or this condition that needs X, Y, and Z. And, Sharon, we would be of the same era. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't have some element of anxiety at different times. And you talk about it being future-based and being past-based, and you're right. Because we're not in that present moment going, yes, I'm Gina Dermody, and I'm a little bit nervous now, and I'm talking Sharon Fitzmaurice, and I think I'll take a few breaths. And with adolescence, the brain is still in development, and we know you're not reaching adulthood to that 23, 24, sometimes people might say a bit older. So everything then is anxiety provoking. And that was the same in the 80s. It was the same in the 90s. It is the same now. My God, is that Sharon going to like me? Oh my God, is that Sharon going to talk to me when I see her down the street? And that is normal. And adolescent development and anxiety go hand in hand. So let's not, make it into something it isn't. Adolescence is a confusing time. It's a hard time to navigate. Where do I belong? Who am I? What tribe am I in? Am I going to make it? Am I going to be pretty enough? These are all normal questions, and they're all normal experiences that most of us had. Unfortunately, everything is played out on social media now. So you and I used to go to school, right? And we'd go home for the weekend and we didn't know what happened till Monday. And we certainly didn't have contact with a lot of people. And I was brought up in the country, and, the summer holidays, you were lucky if you saw one person. Whereas now you go home and I'm checking your location. Where are you? And you didn't invite me. Oh, how come you're out there with them? And why don't I belong? And what's happening to that? So if I'm asking them questions, of course I'm gone future based, and then I'm gone into prediction mode. So a big part of development is holding that concept of, yes, I'm anxious. Now, how anxious am I? And what is driving the anxiety rather than my anxiety? Because it's a the. What is driving it? And then I wonder, what can I do about it? What can I ask for help with it? But how can I understand it? How can I tame it? And that's often what therapy is about, because, we're all accepting, yes, anxiety. But we're saying, well, what would you like to do? What do you think is possible? And that's that beautiful creative part of our mind where we want to go into the future. And I want to say, oh, gosh, Sharon, I want to go on holidays with Sharon. And I want Sharon and I to be best friends. And I want to be, oh my God, I bet we'd get on great. And I want to do your group. And I want that creativity. And anxiety comes along then because of my fear of not being good enough or my self-judgment. And it robs our creativity. And that is such a pity, because adolescents are creative, they're wonderful, they're interesting, they're dynamic, they're fanciful. And you listen to adolescents having a conversation about how they're going to take over the world, and it's like, oh, and we all want a bit of that energy. But now we're hearing that debilitating, I won't make it. I won't be successful. And it's so disheartening and it's so sad. And that is how it's showing up.
Yeah, Gina, absolutely. And it always makes me think exactly what you've said, that anxiety has been around probably for centuries, but it has been so labeled now, and people are attaching to it. And sometimes parents are attaching that title or label to their children. And then the child picks up on it. So again, it's until we have more awareness or education around it. And that's why I love your social media posts where you were explaining, the adolescent mind, or even as the parent, what is your adolescent's thinking? Because we want to know as parents, don't we, what our children are thinking, because there is that stage in development where they kind of pull away from us and they detach, which is very normal. But for a
Yes.
parent, it can be very hard because there was their chatty child, and suddenly their child is pulling away and wants to spend more time alone or in their room,
Yeah.
which again now, and we'll move into that subject in a moment, but it is that separation sometimes for the parent that's hard, and they see their child becoming more, I suppose, internalized. They go inside
Yes.
themselves, don't they?
Yes, they do. They do. And if we think of any of us, we all went to our room. I mean, I remember having, the radio and goodness knows the tape deck, and that sad FM I remember was on at 8 o'clock and playing the same sad song. When you had to press the button like it was hard work to rewind a song. And it was like, oh, my interiority, oh, who's going to love me? Where am I going to be? And again, that's a very normal part of development. But of course, the fear is now, self-harm, suicide, aloneness, not belonging. And parents are very, very interested in adolescents, and parents want to show up for their adolescents, and they want to bring them to therapy, and they want to bring them to everything. And in many ways, when I work with adolescents, I also say, think about how we want to work with parents.
Yeah.
Because I want to become redundant, and I want that collaboration to happen of what is the norm here, what is temporary. And as you know, when you're a good while on the planet, you know most things are temporary. The most awful experience, the biggest grief, it's never as intense as it is in the beginning.
Mm.
And so anxiety is the same. It gets heightened. I get embarrassed, people forget, people move on. Of course, social media can play things out, which is really, really unfortunate and can be really debilitating. But anxiety is not necessarily something to be treated. It's something to be understood. It's something to play with. It's something to soften. It's something to direct sometimes. And depending on the mood we're in, we can talk back to our thoughts, we can brush them away. We can soothe and calm them. At any one time, I'm not sure what is needed, but it's good to know we have a choice.
I like
So,
it.
when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, like especially as women, I mean, how many of us look in the mirror and go, "Oh, fool, you're a hottie, aren't you?" We go, "Oh man, no, I shouldn't have worn that top. Oh, look at my hair." Oh, and that criticism is there. But I mean, imagine being an adolescent today and going online. Oh, like it's horrible and it's frightening because now I have to do my eyelashes, my eyebrows, I have to do all of this. And I was laughing with a friend the last day. We're talking about makeup. Oh, I said, oh yeah, I'm still in the corner of the eye with a little bit of brown, that I learned off some Jackie magazine. And there's all these tutorials now about how, and I'm like, oh wow, that's effort. Oh gosh, I don't think I have time for that. And like if you look at my hair, it's curly. There's not too many people online with curly hair. Straight. Everything is straight, everything is punctuated, everything is chiseled, it's perfect nose. And I'm like, oh wow, that is hard work for any adolescents, and that's male and female. Very,
Mm.
very hard work to belong. So is it no wonder that anxiety is heightened?
Mm.
Because now I need to look at that Sharon online. I need to look like Sharon. Oh gosh, that's what women of my era look like. Ooh, whoa.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
hard going.
yeah, and it's hard going for adults
Yeah.
because we all have that thing where we compare ourselves to somebody the same age as us, and they might look better or younger, or brighter, or thinner, or as you said, more chiseled. Jeez, I wish I could do that magic wand now, Gina, and just wake
I,
up in the morning and look that chiseled. I'd love
I
it.
know.
But there is the acceptance as we mature that, we can have that critical voice
Mm.
and we can learn tools and techniques to help ourselves and be kind and compassionate to ourselves. Are there the same tools for teenagers in your experience? Is it because, again, what I'm hearing is there's a lot of anxiety even around going to school. So
Yes.
it's not just even about exams and points, even though that can be stressful and pressure and parents putting pressure on them, but it's even the comparison of, and you're all in uniform, but that people have fake tan on, or they have makeup, or their hair is different, or they have a better outer jacket, or a better pair of sneakers, or a rucksack. Are you seeing that there is still anxiety, no matter even if we're all uniformed in a school?
Oh, completely. And
Yeah,
and what do we do when we get anxious other than try to avoid?
yeah.
And then when we're in avoidance, we go into judgment, and then we go into creativity. And all of a sudden, I was worried about going into school because I hadn't my, study done for my test. And now I'm worried about the teacher's going to tell me off. And now I'm going to predict that that teacher hates me. And now I'm going to predict that I'm going to fail my exams. And now I'm going to predict that no one's going to talk to me. And I go off on a tangent of, and you said it earlier, that prediction. And that's what's the debilitating piece. And often when adolescents or parents decide to come into therapy, we're with the, okay, let's just have a look, and let's look at what actually happened, and
Mm.
let's look at how it happened, and now let's look at how you coped. So you actually coped, but it was very painful, but you were very scared, but you were very worried. Okay. And that is a normal reaction to a fear, a phobia, an anxiety, a stress. It's normal to be scared. It's normal to think you won't make it. Now, what do we need to do with that? And how do we need to hold that so we don't run away? We've all ran away with our thoughts. You know, if you've ever gone into a room full of people, a party or an event or whatever, and you know no one, and you look around the room and you go, oh, come on, give me a familiar face. Let someone please say hello to me. And usually you have to say hello yourself. And you have to put on that big smile. And you're right, in maturity, it's not that we care less, but we have a little bit more perspective. So we're trying to help teenagers and parents navigate that. And we're trying to say, I'm pretty sure you did really well there. And you talk about school, and, you know, we have all these terms of school-based anxiety, school refusal. Nobody wants to refuse to go to school and hang out with their friends. Nobody. And school is not the problem. But how I feel in school, how I judge myself among my peers, as, you know, someone is brighter than me, someone is more popular, that's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And of course, and any teachers will tell you, this points race, you know, even if I am an average student, I'm going, I have to get 5 million points. I have to. And I'm like, who, what, where, what course? What? No, hold on. What do you think you'll be absolutely fabulous at? What do you think would be a wonderful career? And we've almost lost that connection with ourselves in the points.
Yes.
Because it's like, I have to go to college. Pretty much sure there's a good few choice. Like, we've never had more choice about study and about apprenticeships, and we really have a lot of choice now. Like, when I was in school, you went to college or you didn't.
Yeah.
Right, that was it. Right, so you were like, well, okay. Now it's, well, there's this pathway and there's that pathway, but often when I'm judging myself, and that's what anxiety, a lot of it is, I cannot see that pathway. And I certainly can't see, what would I like?
Yeah.
What do I reckon I'd be really good at? Ooh, what would be interesting to me? So we lose that connection.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to the creativity, isn't it? And not comparing or having to be like somebody else, or not living up to the expectations of parents or teachers that say you'd be really good at that. But being able to say, I would really love to be an apprentice mechanic. I
Yeah.
would love to travel the world, or I'd love to do something. And it's being able to express their dreams without being pushed down also. So as parents, and I know parents are not doing it, you know, to quash their children's dreams, but they're, again, in hindsight, they're looking, well, this would be a better career for you and you might get more money out of it and you'd have a pension. And I say to parents all the time, but it's not your life, it's your child's life, and you need to let them explore as much as possible their options, because you just said it, they have so many more options now. Even we at our age have options. People can go back to college at any time and they can explore different careers and they can do so much in the world now, that I just feel like, looking at children and adolescents and the pressure that they may feel, I just want to, I would love every one of them, Gina, like you, to say, well, what would you like to do? Where would you like to be in your life? And that they're listened to.
I think that's, it's helping them to listen to themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And if they can listen to themselves, then they're more likely to listen to a parent and be able to have a debate. Yeah, I know you think I might be good at teaching, but I'm not so sure that's the job for me. And so, you know, often, and all adolescents say, well, you said, and you said I couldn't do that. And parents are always trying to steer. Like, when I think of myself in school, I wouldn't consider that I was highly academic. I needed to work very, very hard. And in some ways, there's an advantage and disadvantage. I didn't know I had dyslexia and dyscalculia. You know, I just thought, oh God, I'm not very good at maths, or I'm a bit slow at that. But the option wasn't there to exclude school. The option wasn't there to do less subjects. You did your 7 subjects and that was it. And so in many ways, parents have lost the support of some of those structures that were in place. And I'm not saying they were all right, but you had a little bit more authority. You had a little bit of the church's influence. You had a little bit of teachers held in higher esteem, whereas teachers will say to you now, you know, that they're trying to influence and support, and there's very little about teaching because they're meeting pushback. They're meeting teenagers who are going, no, I don't have to. And so everything has become harder. And it's not a blame game, and society changes, but we haven't replaced that authority structure with anything else. So we're all floundering. We're all losing faith in ourselves, even in our parental values. Like I always say to parents, what's your value system and what's important?
Yeah.
What is it? Oh, I couldn't say, oh, and that doesn't matter now, you know. I'm like, it does. Because if you want to parent today, you've got to have a belief system in what is important in your home, not what someone else is doing, not what's going on. And again, back to the privacy, when we didn't have social media, we went home, we did what we needed to do, we got on with it. There wasn't as much gossip, or there wasn't as much, oh, look, someone is doing this, you know, in America or in China. Oh my, that's not fair, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, our access to TV, you know, what was it? Home and Away. Ooh, big deal after school, like, you know. And we all wanted to go to Byron Bay, and it was going to be amazing. But that is as far as we got with the Sophie. And it's not like Irish people are great travelers, you know, and obviously we have a lot of immigration as well. So we're not shy on going forward. But our exposure and parents' exposure to what's the norm now, and then the phone is held in here as this private world. And it's like, this is private. No, the world is looking at you. You're looking at the world. There's nothing private about that. No.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that is, and even as a parent myself, and remembering my two children who are grown up
Mm,
now, it's like, this is my phone, but they didn't get one until they were, ending sixth class, going into first year.
mm.
And part of that was also me going, well, at least they'll be able to ring me if they need me, because,
Yes.
you know, y-
Ring you, Sharon. Is it ring you? Oh my
well,
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, oh, ring me. And I went as
Yes.
far as to
Yeah.
my kids, I'd say, I used to say this, and I know it was my own fear, and they still laugh about it, but they
Mm.
used to cycle to the shop or walk to the shop, and I'd say, ring me when you are leaving the shop,
Yes. Yes.
so I know you're on your way home.
Yes.
My eldest always did,
Yeah.
but Scott never did. He just
Yeah.
forgot.
Yeah. Wasn't important.
No, because he was too busy eating the sweet or doing whatever. And I
Yes.
remember I would say, why didn't you just text me then? Oh, I never thought about it. And then I was
Yeah.
nearly home.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to explain to them was, that they may not always be living at home with me, and they may be in a different county, going to school or college or living or in a different country. And sometimes it's nice for the parents to be reassured of this timeline of where even their adult
Yeah.
children are. And it's
Mm.
not that I am worried now as they are adults, but I said it's kind of like a respect thing as well, that you're
Mm.
just letting somebody know that you're okay, and that it's all right to do that, because you can do that with your friends, you can do that with your partners, you can do it with work colleagues, and it's just always considering somebody else also. And I know
It's
they
that
didn't
basic
get it.
communication.
Yes,
It's that
yes,
basic value of just let me know because I care,
yes,
right? And as you said, it's for your own reassurance, but it's also, I suppose, showing children, showing adolescents, this is how we communicate. And
yeah.
that has become so limited with your Snapchats, you know, with your Instagram, with all of these things. I snap. So
Mm,
I don't say, how are you? You know, meet me here. Locations are on now. And our language has, it's almost shriveled. Our contact in meeting people, it has shriveled. And even we all meet now. And if I ever go out and I see adults in a restaurant on their phones, I'm like, ah, oh, sweetie, please put it down, have a chat. And it's not like they're doing it on purpose, but adults as well, we're in this habit of picking up our phone. Am I relevant? Am I important? What happened in the world?
Yeah.
what's going on? And I notice it in myself. I love reading, and my concentration is very, very poor at the minute because I'm reading and the phone is beside me. And I find it hard to finish a book. I find concentration with the dyslexia anyway. I'd have to underline everything. But I'm like, ooh, Gina, you can't be talking about the phone at work and doing that.
Yeah.
That's really having an impact there. So I put it now to the other side of the room because I love books. I love the Kindle, and I've lost the joy of it
Mm,
because I'm distracted. So
yeah.
imagine, right, I'm in my prefrontal cortex, and adolescent is in their limbic brain going, oh yeah, I couldn't do that. And I couldn't concentrate. Now I better avoid school because, oh, I didn't do that test and I didn't do whatever. And you're just trying to show, can we put down our distractions? And
Yeah.
obviously they need help with that. They
Yeah.
can't do that on their own, and we can't expect them to.
No. So right, Jean, and I think again it's become the norm. I just said to a client today, I said one time we had the vinyl records, like you were talking about the tape deck, and we never imagined in our wildest dreams that we could play music on a little
Oh,
handheld, whatever
yeah,
this.
yeah.
We would have been looking at it with pictures. It can take pictures. It can send
Oh,
messages. It
yeah.
can you can check the internet. What's the internet? We didn't even have that. So
No.
we have had to learn how to use
Mm,
this, bit by bit, and it has developed over time. But younger children are just getting that huge, open
hmm
to the world device in their
hmm
hand from ages of, well, we won't say 4 and 5, but we have heard of children of younger being handed this device and to watch a video or play something or
Yeah.
whatever, and they
hmm
get used to having it. So
Yeah.
when we're handing this to a teenager, it is our responsibility as parents. And I take that responsibility myself, where I gave, because I didn't know enough about these things, Gina, when I was
hmm
giving them to my child, I was learning about them too. So
Yeah.
it was very
Yeah.
limited, their options on it. It was texting and calling. There was no web. There was, I'm not sure if they could play music on it even that time, but everything was
Remember,
very
you had the
limited.
iPod for the music.
That's right, yes. And
Yes.
there was
Yes.
an
Yes.
iPad in the house and they could do
Yes.
things with that.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did it go from a very limited amount of stuff they could use on a phone to saying to a young person now, here's everything on your
Yeah.
phone? As parents, we're allowing that though as well. So it's not a blame on parents because we think, well, that's what's on the phone. But you just said it at the very start, which is absolutely, and I think everybody, including me, needs to be reminded. Here is a gateway to the world, to the best and worst of it.
Yes.
Here
Well,
as it
we got
is.
hijacked, Sharon. And
Yeah.
you think of social media and you think of all your big tech companies, and you have teams of people, and they developed, software, they developed apps, and very quickly they found out, ooh, this is an adolescent audience. And there wasn't a lot of conscience or scruples involved. These are money-making industries. And it's not that we've sleepwalked into this century or into technology, but like you said there, I remember having a Nokia phone. I was 24, 25 when I got my first phone. So this was new. And now, the world came along and it said, oh, Gina, you need to get that for your teenagers. And I, oh, okay, I better get that. They better not miss out.
Yeah.
And we've been somewhat, I suppose, unaware because these phones haven't come with a warning. Like, think of smoking, Sharon.
Mm.
Years and years ago, people smoked while driving their car in restaurants. Nobody wore seatbelts. It didn't come with a health warning. And so, this is not new that we're always behind in the impact of whatever new thing is introduced. So, it's been the same with social media. And we're somewhat now going, oh, that's dangerous. But of course, all the tech companies are now got their billions and billions, and they're like, oh yeah, we must do something. We better do something to look good. And so you have so many good people online now advocating for adolescents, talking about mental health, and we're catching up. But it's like most things in society. It's like climate change. It's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of not good. What'll I do now? And
Yeah.
so often you have parents with a lot of fear because their teenager has had the phone, they've been up in the room, and they say, but I can't take it off them now. And I'm
Mm,
like, but you can, but you
mm,
need to now. Doesn't matter what went on yesterday. Yes, there's
yeah.
going to be a battle. You think of a little kiddie and you give them a bunch of sweets, and then you go, oh, sorry, they were the wrong ones I gave you. They've way too much E numbers in them. What would you do as a child, only hold? You remember when you were asked to share your sweets,
Oh,
right? And we had the brown paper bags, and you held on and you went, or the crisp. Do you remember giving one measly crisp to
yeah.
someone? I shared. And it's like that now. And so you take this cortisol inducing device, you know, off an adolescent. Of course, they're going to blow a gasket. Of
Mm,
course, they're going to look at you like, what? And then we talk about bans, and like none of those things work. So it's a lot about, I am going to help you, to regulate. I am going to help you. And, you mentioned the Netflix documentary on adolescence, and like any good program on telly, the idea is that you'll shock, and there was great acting in it. There's nothing unusual in it. There's absolutely nothing. We have the Anna Kriegel case. We had the Jamie Bulger case way back. We always know the influence of social media. We don't know why it impacts some people more than others. There's plenty of adolescents going around who are not impacted and who don't murder someone. But I think the point of that documentary is that those were good parents, and they kept saying to themselves, we're good parents, we love them, we wanted to do something particularly poignant piece with the dad, we want to do something different, but
mm,
we were unaware what he was watching in his bedroom. And often we are. So if you let that phone, if you put that telly and that device in the room, you might as well invite in 500 people. You might as well invite in someone turning up at your door saying, I'm just going in here, Sharon, I'm going to call to you today, and I'm going to sit down in your kitchen, I'm going to open all your cupboards, I'm going to have your tea, I'm going to talk to whoever's in your house there, I'm just going to take over. You okay with that, Sharon? Yeah, I'm okay with that. And that is what happens. And parents are saying, but I didn't realize. And I say, yeah, I know. And now you can. And now obviously we're putting in the supports, we're trying to put more SPHE programs, education in schools, and they're doing really well with that. But we cannot let young people be in charge of their safety. We've never done it. In our day, it was the white van. The famous white van was going to
oh,
turn up and take
and they'll
kids
give you
away.
sweets. Don't
They
take
give you
sweets
sweets.
off.
And you know what I thought when I was told that? I thought, I'll take the sweets. I'm going to so take the sweets, because we were allowed sweets on a Friday. And my adolescent child brain went, yeah, I'll take the sweets, and I'll scream and I'll run away, because I had no concept of what a pedophile was, or what
Yeah.
you know, the power an adult has. And so why would they have it now? But I was just talking to someone online. Yeah, but that person is probably an adult. No, and that shock and that innocence is there. And adolescents are innocent as they're meant to be. So it's our job to watch, to boundary, to take the phone away. Please, no phones in the room. Please, 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 no phones in the room. It is dangerous. It is
Yeah.
absolutely dangerous.
Yeah. And I've loved that you have said it like that, because it is dangerous. It's dangerous to young people. It's dangerous to adults because, again, I haven't been affected, but I know people that have, and
Yes,
they've been targeted or bullied, or trolls
yes,
have commented or
yes,
messaged them privately, or people have been stalked, different things through just
yes,
opening up to strangers and telling them everything about your life, your location, showing them your house,
yes,
showing them
yeah,
the front door, the bed you sleep in, the knicker
yep,
drawer. And then
yep,
you're wondering why people know so much about you.
yes. Or decide they know so much about you. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at Sharon Fitzmaurice today, and I'm looking at her blouse, and I'm like, oh, I wonder where she got that blouse. Yeah, is it the right color now? I think I'll post. Oh, it was lovely talking to Sharon. Not sure about her blouse though. And I get to post that anonymously, and I
Yeah.
get to say, oh yeah, and you had your hair done that way. Oh yeah, wasn't it? And of course, we're all very brave And you think
online.
of adolescence, and bullying does happen online. And there's a reason Coco's Law came out. There's a reason these things, real experience of real trauma that parents have had, and development is still happening. So I'm going to take it all. I'm not going to be friends with you anymore, Sharon. I don't like you anymore because
Mm.
you told me my top wasn't nice. So now I get to go online, send you message after message after message. I get to be mean. And this happens, with adults. This happens with adolescents. And isn't the phone a great way that I can now post my opinions and take no responsibility? And
Yeah.
we understand development is happening. And often, we think of ourselves in school and experiences, and adolescents don't mean to say mean things. And I often hear, oh, they're so manipulative. They do not have that skill. That's a skill we get as adults, and it takes a long time, right? And we all know it because in some way or other, as an adult, we use manipulation. Some people use it to the extreme, but kids don't have that. They're kids. They're gorgeous, they're wonderful. Their behavior is sometimes challenging and over the top. And anybody who has gone through huge challenges with adolescents, like they're heartbroken. They're
Yeah.
absolute, but they would do anything for their teenager to be happy.
Mm.
And most parents will say that. And watching that adolescent documentary and the great acting and that breakdown in the end by the father, and it was like there was nobody that watched that didn't go,
Yeah.
and who any of us could be there at any moment, at any given time. And it's not necessarily to do with a parenting style. Sometimes it is. Many times it's not. It's not anything to do with, well, I had a good background, you had a bad background.
Mm.
We can't sit in judgment because there's other involvements in our life, and we'll call it social media, and we'll call it the influence, and we'll call it the algorithms, and we'll call it the developing brain. You put advertisements on our phone, Sharon, and we've all seen it. If we have a conversation, something will pop up. But
Mm.
you and I flick past it and go, oh, yeah, I've no time for that today.
Yeah.
But you put an adolescent on and your sheen pops up and oh, gee, I have to get that. Oh, gee, there's new eyebrows. Oh, there's new tight pants. Oh, and automatically they're influenced to buy, to respond, to react.
Mm.
And you talk about anxiety, and if anxiety is heightened, then I go on to my new cuddle toy and I have it in my bed and I have it in my room. And the next thing I'm talking to someone in America and I'm talking to someone pretending to be an adolescent. And we know they're not.
And they're listening to me giving out about my parents who are trying to take my
Yep.
phone and ground
Mm-hmm.
me, and they won't
Yep.
let me have my privacy. And that
Yep.
person who is another adolescent but not is saying absolutely yeah, and let's be friends, and you can tell me anything. And
Yes.
then it
Yep.
develops into something much worse, which we have seen
Yes.
again in people being prosecuted. And I
Yep.
know I read something only this morning, and it was that young people are communicating in ways that most adults completely misunderstand. So what
Yes.
looks innocent could potentially have a different meaning. That
Yes.
frightened me in a way, Gina, because I looked down through the codes or symbols, the emojis.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
went, oh my
Yeah.
God, I've used them when I'm
Yeah.
writing a post, and I didn't know they meant this. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Innocently, a yellow heart or a red heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
look to make it
Mm.
look a bit more colorful. And then I
Yes.
looked down through it and I went, oh my God, I've used that. I've used a yellow heart, and that means, are you interested?
Oh, yeah. Sharon was pimping herself out. Yeah. Yeah. And you didn't even know it, Sharon. Yeah. And you were, oh, right.
It
Mm-hmm.
just went again, the innocence in our minds because
Yes.
we're not aware. But these are things, when I saw the list of it, I thought every parent, especially that has a teenager, needs to know what these mean. Because
Yep.
I was saying it to my husband, John, I said, if I had seen my kids using these symbols, I would have thought, oh, isn't that lovely? They're putting little symbols
Oh,
up. It's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
cute.
Mm. Again,
But
it's back to that language and communication. It's indirect now.
yeah,
And it's loaded under symbols, and it's preloaded with emojis, with everything. And like the Oxford Dictionary is going to need to change. It's going to need to be the symbol dictionary. But remember, that keeps changing and evolving too. And that's not permanent, where I love you, boundaries, kindness, safety, they are old-fashioned, basic, permanent parts to our development that are so necessary to our parenting style. And we cannot have enough kindness for us as parents, for our children, for our adolescents. And kindness is a boundary and it's a safety. And that's what it is. And it is a superpower. And it is something that will stand the test of time. And it will bring about an honesty. And we've all been untruthful, dishonest. We've all messed up. We've all survived. We've cringed. We've had shame. But when you have teenagers now saturated in shame, is when you get the heightened anxiety, is when you get the behavior that goes with that, that really has frightened parents, is when you get the secrecy and the phone in and all this stuff, then parents start to uncover. And so, yes, open dialogue. Yes, they may not want to talk to you today or look at you. And no, we do not expect them to tell us everything. We're not that daft. We are not their best friend. We are their guide. We hope to act in that supportive consultant, influencing role for the rest of our life as we dip in and out of it. And yes, their friends are meant to be more important. And yes, they're meant to roll their eyes and go, oh my God, you've no idea. And you're going, I know, right? And no, we don't need to know everything. We absolutely do not need to know every single detail of when they went out. And yes, we sit in judgment and we go, are you sure about that? Of course we do. And often that judgment is from a place of safety and concern. And yes, we want to let them all be independent. Of course we do. We want them to go and find their life and their career or their love or their travel. But we're also entitled to be boundaried and to be worried. And we do need to hold on to that because we are the gatekeepers of safety. We are.
Yes, we are. That has given me a shiver because I think some parents have become afraid and they want to be the friend and they want to be the best friend with the teenager. And you just said it, we can't be their best friend. We have to be their parent. We have to be that guiding role or light for them and support them because they think they may know a lot, but they don't know the world, and the world is changing so quickly that it's even changing so much for us as adults that we can't stay aware of every new thing that's online for them. But I think, again, what you said there is get curious instead of, fighting with them or have, less judgment because we can judge as parents. And again, maybe saying to, this is one of the things, is saying to our young person when we give them the phone, that they may not understand everything that they're seeing or that people are messaging, but that maybe you can help figure it out with them. So they're not sitting there and going, I wonder what that means. Because again, looking at these codes and everything, Gina, I'm going, I wouldn't have a clue what that means. And then if I had to go looking up as a teenager to find out, seeing that it meant something terrible about me, how would I feel?
And we also need to be able to say, yes, I am going to monitor your phone. No, you can't do that. I'm entitled to my privacy. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
And I am going to try and keep you safe and I'm going to try and learn with you. So yes, your phone needs to be charged downstairs on the kitchen counter. And no, you're not going to be popular, but most things we do as parents, we're not popular for. And we're not in a popularity contest. We're in a keep you safe, love you as much as humanly possible. We know we would give a kidney, would give an arm. Parents, if you think of kids who get into trouble, parents will go to any lengths to protect that child, to visit them wherever they're heartbroken. But parents don't give up easily. And parents are often, I know there's always exceptions, but they are that constant in a child, in an adolescent's life. And as I often say, I have a laugh with adolescents. Sometimes I go, no one else is really interested in parenting you. And they go, do you think? And I go, no, they're not really. And they go, oh, but they might be, Gina. And I say, nah. And so we often talk about that in a way, you know, that's, we'll say, interesting to them. And I say, well, what's kind of good about your parents, and what drives you mad? And then I say, well, what do you imagine it would be like for them to hear that? Because there isn't much parents haven't heard. There isn't much they haven't experienced. And while we might go, oh no, I'm a bit shocked, we get over it very quickly. Like
Yeah.
we do. And then we go into that, right, what can we do here? And
Yeah.
how can we help? And most parents want to help. And most parents are very resourceful. And while we might get a little bit, oh, that's disappointing. Do you really think I'm that bossy? Oh, we get past it and we go, right. And that, again, we don't expect everything to be told, but that open dialogue, that's the safety bit. That's the
Love that.
curious bit. That's the learning bit. And I know as a parent, I'm learning. I'm on this development piece. And of course, I get it wrong. Of course, I do. And, you know, whenever I'm working with adolescents or parents, I say, okay, hold on now a second. Let's not think that, you know, I've got dibs on being perfect here or having it right. I said, we are all in this together. You know, we're collaborating together. Let's learn from each other. I sit down with Sharon. I'm going to get a really valuable piece of information. I'm going to go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
And that's how it should work, because we've lost community as such. You know, we're busy, we're working. I mean, it's great. We all have that capacity to work now, but it gets very busy and very isolating.
Yeah. We
And so
need
that
that support.
consultation, yes, yeah. And that has somewhat, again, we talk about society changing and structure, that has somewhat diminished.
Mm. So much has changed, but at the end of it all, we are there. Just, I love that you said we are their guides. That hasn't changed really. And as long as
No,
we remember that, as long as we come back to that and say we're there to keep our children, adolescents safe, if you keep that in the forefront of your
yeah,
mind, no matter what is going on, that is your job first and foremost, is to keep your children and adolescents safe.
yes, yes,
That's it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep,
I always like to keep things simple in my own head because we can get overwhelmed and overthink things through. So again, having something for parents to say, my job is, this is really overwhelming at the moment with my adolescents, but my job is to keep them safe. If I
yep,
remember that, we can maybe have open communication about what that means to me and how my child sees it. But this is where I'm coming from. I want to keep you safe.
yes, yep.
Brilliant. Gina, I want to talk for the last few minutes about your wonderful conference that's coming up on the 8th of April in the Salt Hill Hotel. And this is Adolescence and Beyond, Understanding Teenagers' Thinking, Hearing Their Voice. Tell me more about it in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is, I suppose it's an idea I had for a long time, and the first conference was last year. And then I want to bring it to Galway because that's where I live. I am from Mayo, we will point that out. But Galway is my home now. And the idea behind the conference is that contact and connection. And that was the theme last year. And I suppose I've held on to that theme. And I want people, and that's professionals and that's parents and whoever is involved with adolescents, to have that opportunity to, even if you listen to someone speaking, you know, that you go, oh, I am doing that, or I hadn't considered that, or yeah, that's helpful. Because while we have obviously lovely speakers coming this year, and I mean, they've all written books, they're all working in the area, and we regard people as experts, we're all striving to be experts in contact and connection. We're all trying to do it better. So when we meet together, like you might come to the conference and you might end up sitting down beside someone that you are, you know, you just get loads from.
Mm.
And then you're listening to the speakers and you're listening to real life, and they will talk about, obviously confidentially, about real cases and about some of the challenges. And they're all actually very funny. I got that from them last year. And they're like, let's keep this at a level where we can ask each other questions, where we can share information and knowledge, and when we can get to know a little bit more. So I wanted an arena for that because we have so many different services for adolescents. We have so many things we often don't know about. I didn't know, that Sharon was there, that Tom was over there. And the more we meet and collaborate, the more we find out. The more we find out, the better able we are to support adolescents. And I've got adolescents this year lending their voice. So we have one person is going to speak, and I've got the others to speak on video, just so, because sometimes we forget, and adolescents will always say, "You're not listening. You are not listening."
Mm.
And of course, we're looking at them going, "You're not listening. All I asked you to do was." So when we get that opportunity to go to a conference, or a meeting, and we get to sit down, what I hope is that people are leaving a little bit richer, a little bit more content in their own humanity, a little bit more aware of their skills, a little bit more aware of what actual development means and what's involved in adolescent development,
Mm.
where you can go. So it's going to be, a yearly event, and there's going to always be different speakers and different opportunities for people to come and share. And we've so many fabulous people in this country who are working, in the public arena, who are working, under the radar. And I want to get to know them and for them to come and share their experience and share it with an audience who can also share theirs and ask questions. And that's the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And well done to you, Gina, because I think it is so important that we do, even as professionals, have support from other people, learning from each other. And again, saying, actually, you would work better with such a person, or I could call on them for advice and different things, but
Yeah,
learning what's going on with them. So some of them are Dr. Mary O'Kane, Mally Coyne, Stella O'Malley, Dr. Joanna Fortune. Is Richard Hogan there this
yeah,
year? Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Adam Harris. I think I
yeah.
have them all, and your beautiful self, Gina. Um, it's
And
just,
Joseph McGrain is coming again, and he's a consultant psychiatrist, so he's going to be part of the panel. Um, and so we have a lovely mix of different professionals, different areas. And I believe in hearing everyone's voice and what everybody is doing, because that's how we learn more.
absolutely. I think it's going to be an amazing day. It's open to parents, professionals, anybody that wants to go
Yeah,
and to learn, but also the beautiful connection. I love that. And it to be filled in person in a room together and have it the chats and learning from other people. It's just amazing, Gina. Well done. And I wish you every success with it. You're a
thank you.
powerhouse. And again, I don't say that to everybody, but anybody that's on my podcast, I usually do say it because they have made a change in the world and they are bringing awareness that is needed so badly for all of us, and that openness, but to do it with kindness, curiosity, and that as parents, that we're all doing our best. We have
Yeah.
to learn new things, just like our teenagers have to learn new
Mm-hmm.
things, and we'll get there, but to keep communication open. So everybody, you can find Gina on Adolescence and Beyond on Instagram. Check out her website, adolescence.ie, where you can also buy tickets for this event on the 8th of April in the Salt Hill Hotel in Galway. Is that right?
That's
Yeah.
right, Sharon. Yes.
Yeah. And Gina, thank you so much. And if anybody wants to contact you, personal appointment, they can go through your website as well or message you on Instagram. Gina, thank you so much for sharing with us all today. It was so lovely.
Oh, Sharon, it was lovely and it's nice to see you again. Thank you
And
for
love.
having me.
Oh, only delighted to have you. So, Gina, thanks a million. And to all our listeners, please do go and check her out, adolescence.ie. And if you wish to go to the conference or you think this conference could benefit someone please share the podcast or share the link with them. Remember, we are here to connect with each other and support each other along the way. We don't have to do this alone. So, until next time, take care of you.